this week's drive, we go racing in the rain to crown a champion, aim for a record, but get beaten by Mother Nature and history. Take it to the limits and beyond, and bet on the wrong horse in Las Vegas. All this and more in this week's Drive. Laguna Seca was the venue for the 10th round of the A1 Grand Prix of Nations, but once again there was adverse weather conditions in the build-up to the race. The name means dry lake, but the track was anything but dry before practice. Temperatures were a bit below the norm for this time of year, and heavy rain had drenched the raceway, causing major problems for organisers. But most of the drivers were keen that everything should go ahead as planned.
I think we should drive, because here also in this track there drives MotoGP and bikes, and they can also drive here. Why we cannot drive with the cars? I mean,
the problem is
there are also circuits where you just have walls everywhere, like Durban, and here we have a lot of runoff areas, so I see no point not to drive.
Although it was cold, it stayed dry for the practice session. Brian Herter, racing for the host nation Team USA, managed the fastest time from only 12 laps, but there was no real surprise given his experience here. However, the result will be particularly important for the Americans, who have yet to really find consistent speed in A1, despite proving again and again that they have the pace and the quality to be competitive. Right behind him was 20-year-old Salvador Duran of Team Mexico. There was plenty of cloud above the snow-capped hills surrounding spectacular Laguna Seca Raceway the next day. But thankfully, torrential rain of the kind seen earlier in the week stayed away, meaning that qualifying went ahead as scheduled. After showing promise in Friday's practice, Team A1 USA endured a disappointing qualifying and claimed a disappointing 17th place on the grid for the shortest sprint race. In contrast, Team Australia acquitted themselves well, an impressive showing giving them the 5th fastest time. The team could do with some good results to offset a woeful season so far. The battle for the championship is a two-horse race between France and Switzerland, but behind them, competition is heating up for 3rd place. Malaysia put in their best ever qualifying session, taking 4th place on the grid behind New Zealand. Switzerland's championship aspirations were dented when they could do no better than 16th, but arch-rival France claimed 2nd place on the front row. Star of the day, though, was Salvador Duran, who gave Team Mexico their first pole position of the series. Teams are allowed to switch drivers between qualifying and the sprint race, but they all decided to retain their qualifying drivers, and there were no driver changes. The rolling start sprint race would be over 80 kilometres and up to 30 minutes, run over 22 laps. The race determines the grid positions for the feature race, which has a standing start and would be run over 44 laps, or about 160 kilometres, and lasting up to an hour. Mexican Duran wasn't intimidated by the more experienced drivers behind him on the grid.
I'm feeling very good, you know, first corner, being in front, and with a starting procedure like in the sprint race, so it's very good, very comfortable. But I mean, these guys, you know, they have a lot of experience. I have a lot of respect for them, but I think now I can be maybe as quick as them and hopefully as consistent as them. So I will try to demonstrate it tomorrow in the race, and try to be smart and finish the race. It's not like Indonesia.
Salvador and New Zealander Matt Halliday would be hoping to be facing the other way and going a bit faster the next day. Despite the still present threat of unpleasant weather, fans at Laguna Seca in Northern California were treated to a spectacular day's racing. In the opening sprint race, visibility for anyone further back than the front 2 rows was appalling, and yet New Zealand's Halliday overtook France and then Mexico, slipping his car Black Beauty into the top spot. The rain eased as the safety car pulled in at the end of 3 laps, with Mexico leading the pack ahead of New Zealand, France, Malaysia, Portugal and Ireland. As Mexico increased their lead, France kept the pressure on New Zealand, and finally on lap 7, Lapierre took the chance, pushing the tricoloured car past the New Zealand Black Beauty. A1 Team Switzerland, with new driver Giorgio Mondini behind the wheel, fell victim to the corkscrew corner, cutting both corners, damaging his nose cone and ensuring that the only team that could unseat France as overall champions finished outside of the points. So victory went to Team Mexico in A1 Grand Prix's first ever wet race. But France's second place, together with Switzerland's failure to score any points, meant that Team France were crowned as the first ever world champions of motorsport in the A1 Grand Prix of Nations.
We are Team France. Congratulations, A1's first world champions. How do you feel?
I feel great. I just think about everybody in the team because I'm here now, but, you know, it was really a team job. I think about Alex and all the team, really, all the mechanic, the engineer, Jean-Paul. Everybody has done really good job this season, and now I'm in front of the camera, but it was really a team job.
Fellow French driver Alexandre Premat, who has been just as successful as Lapierre, was on hand to pose for photographers before the feature race. Mexico then became the third team to win a double header over a Grand Prix of Nations weekend when Duran won the feature race too. The team gambled on using slick tyres on a track that still had some damp patches. It was France that got the best start, leading Mexico into turn one and building up a 2.7-second lead by the end of the first lap. But at the end of lap 36, the situation at the front of the field took a dramatic turn when Mexico retook the lead from France. It became obvious the new champions had a technical problem. The car was stuck in third gear. Lapierre eventually pulled off the track on lap 38 while lying fifth. Due to safety car periods, the checkered flag came out early at the end of lap 40, with Mexico leading Germany and Britain across the line. Portugal, Canada and Ireland made up the top six, just as they had in the earlier sprint race. Mexico are only one of three teams to win both a feature and a sprint race at the same circuit. In 3 weeks' time, it's the final round of A1 Grand Prix to be held at the Shanghai circuit in China.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. And, well, like I said, it's difficult because sometimes you have opportunities and you have to take them. This time we had three, the pole position, the first win and the second. So it's nice. You know, I know people like him that has been fast, has been in poles and never win, but always in the podium. So it's always, there is some chances that you get. And this time we were able to take them, and I'm very happy because of that.
The racing isn't quite over, though. Third place in the championship is still to be fought for, and the teams will be thinking to next season as they prepare to challenge France.
Keyword.
The high-speed oval racers of NASCAR went to Las Vegas in Nevada for their most recent round. It appeared through most of the race that Matt Kenseth was going to get another easy win after being handed a victory 2 weeks previously in California when front-runners Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart succumbed to late-race engine problems. Kenseth, who won in Las Vegas in 2003 and 2004, led a race-high 146 laps and was out in front and almost assured a victory before a collision between rookie Denny Hamlin and Kenny Wallace brought out the last of 7 caution flags on lap 264 of the race that was scheduled to go to 267 laps. A dejected Kenseth told his crew by radio that his engine didn't feel strong for the restart, but he was able to hold off second-place Jimmy Johnson for a lap and a half after the green flag waved for the first time on lap 270.
Of a situation that we had last night.
But Johnson's number 48 Chevrolet surged past Kenseth's number 17 Ford on the outside after the two sped side by side through the third and fourth turns on the 1.5-mile oval for the final time. Johnson crossed the finish line 0.115 of a second, or about half a car's length ahead, as he led a lap for the only time in the 271-lap event. It was Johnson's second successive win here, but this one was a lot harder than the 2005 win when he led for 107 laps. Local boy Kyle Busch, who ran second to Johnson last year, finished third, followed by Casey Kane, Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin. It maintains Johnson's fine start to 2006. He won the Daytona 500 and finished second in California before taking his 20th career win. And he's doing it without crew chief Chad Knaus, banned by NASCAR for the first 4 races of the season after making unapproved modifications to Johnson's car in Daytona qualifying.
Second straight Vegas victory.
The 2006 Asia Pacific Rally Championship kicked off with the Rally of Canberra around the Australian capital city. 3 times Australian rally champion Cody Crocker is the centrepiece of a Subaru team that expected to challenge favourite driver Katsuhiko Taguchi and reigning champions Mitsubishi for the title.
It's never easy, you know. It's there is tough competition. Katsu is very fast. I think if he's consistent to the end of the rally, he'll be in a great spot, and that's obviously a concern. And while I'm not competing directly with the ARC guys, it's obviously good to keep a bit of an eye on them and see where they are as a bit of a benchmark. So I want to be up with them, obviously, but if I'm leading APRC, I'll be happy.
Mitsubishi's new driver lineup proves that they aren't ready to relinquish their crown. Gone is last year's top driver, Jussi Välimäki, but back is arguably the best driver on the circuit, Japan's Katsuhiko Taguchi, hoping that this season doesn't contain the same bad luck that all but cost him last year's title.
Yeah, I hope good results this year, and good result. I want to get good results this year rally too, because last year we had many accidents, so we can get good points for the championship. So we have to. This is the first rally of the championship. We have to get good points here.
Mitsubishi have replaced the departed Välimäki with compatriot Jarkko Miettinen, who, along with co-driver Mikko Markula, will be hoping to continue last year's Finnish magic.
I have high expectations. I think this first run is going to be quite difficult, and of course every run is going to be difficult. But I think we have a good speed, but we have to be careful in the beginning.
19-year-old student Suban Aksa will lead the Indonesia rally team in its APRC debut. He'll be piling on the air miles as he commutes to 7 rounds from his business studies at Hertfordshire University in the UK. Should he stumble, the backup Indonesian crew, led by driver Rifat Sungkar, will be there to pick up when he leaves off. Cody Crocker and co-driver Ben Atkinson came into the second and final day of the rally with a lead of almost a minute. Having taken the opening leg on day 1, all Crocker needed to do was stay on the road on Sunday as he and Atkinson cruised to victory. The duo won the second leg to complete a weekend clean sweep.
55 left. 5 left, finish. Well done.
That's it.
Congratulations.
That was a tough rally, mate. Well done, buddy. Spot on. Awesome work.
Very good weekend.
It was a good weekend for the Subarus as Crocker's teammate Ellie Evans finished second, while Team Cusco Subaru driver Hiroshi Yanagisawa of Japan and co-driver Tadashi Misayazu claimed the final podium position despite dropping from second to third on the last day. The Subaru of Taguchi and co-driver Mark Stacey would place fourth, 11 minutes off the pace.
Right entry, 3 left, plus on crest.
It was a successful debut for Indonesian driver Rifat Sungkar, who finished 5th. Finland's Miettinen and Markula may well like to forget Canberra. After retiring on day 1, Miettinen crashed horribly on day 2. Not the best start for the man that Team Mitsubishi hope can replace compatriot and 2005 APRC champion Jussi Välimäki.
Maybe pushing a little bit too hard on the dust, and then just didn't see the corner.
Crocker and Atkinson will sit out the second round Rally of New Caledonia, but will be back for the third leg Rally of New Zealand in Rotorua. Audi has signed a reinforcement for this season's German Touring Car or DTM Championship. Former Formula One driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen will race an Audi A4 in the Touring Car Series. Heinz-Harald is regarded as a gifted technical driver and brings all the experience gained from a decade of Formula One to Audi. He was 1997 World Championship runner-up to his teammate Jacques Villeneuve and 3rd overall in 1999. He won 3 Grand Prix during his Formula One career, which included stints with Jordan, Sauber, Williams, Jordan again, Arrows and Sauber again. He failed to secure a drive in Formula One and moved to the DTM series in 2004, driving an Opel. Despite a string of breakdowns and crashes, he started from the front row twice in 2005 and finished 3rd on the podium at Brno and Zandvoort.
Yeah, first of all, it is always very exciting if you start at a new team. The people, new people, it's a new car as well, it's a new environment. Everything is so new and so different. It is a completely different feeling when you sit in a new car. The Audi A4 is internally totally different from the car I used to drive the year before. So every switch, every knob is different.
This year, he'll be in a well-established team which is used to winning, but he'll have to beat his teammates first.
Well, I'm very much motivated to compete against the best world touring car drivers, and for me that's a big challenge. And I'm looking forward to see my competitors. We have with Matthias Ekström, a very fast touring car driver, a successful touring car driver, having won the championship, and also with Tom Christensen, which I know from the past, is also a very strong competitor, and also the other guys running at Audi. So it is different if you are joining the team, being teammates, of course, than comparing them when you are competitors. On the other hand, we are also competitors who are fighting for the championship, and so I'm very curious to get to know them a bit better.
One of the things that must happen before a driver takes out his new car is the seat fitting, which involves sitting in a bag full of goo that sets into a hard foam which forms the basis for a carbon fibre shell. But first it gets really, really hot.
Well, the DTM is one of the most competitive championships in the world. I've been racing in Formula One, and when I joined DTM, I was pretty much surprised how competitive the championship is, and I underestimate the situation at the beginning. So now I'm pretty much motivated really to upgrade myself, yes, to complete myself as a touring car driver. And with Audi I see another chance. It's been a first-year learning year for me at DTM. The second year I think I did pretty well for the circumstances. I did show that I did learn a little bit, yes, and my target for this year is just to get my first win and maybe fight for the championship.
The German one-time coffin maker was born in Mönchengladbach, but now lives in Monaco with his wife Tanja and their 2 daughters. He will line up in the DTM with an evolution of the A4, which has been developed by Audi Sport.
DTM racing is a very exciting motorsport event in terms of action, that you see lots of overtaking, a lot of fight-to-fight, man-to-man fights, and you see also sometimes some action on the track where this is a little bit different compared to Formula racing.
Following a brief visit to the Audi fitness camp, he tested the A4 at Vallelunga in Italy. And finally, welcome to Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, a place made famous by decades of speed record attempts. It's the location of Honda's 400 Challenge.
I didn't actually run through my program on my first run. I just ran up and down the lake and tried to take it in.
The driver is Honda's test driver, South African Alan van der Merwe.
It was just so different to what I expected. It was faster, it was more difficult, absolutely mind-blowing actually. It was just too much to take in. It was basically just a feeling of not being in control and being at mercy of things like the track surface and the wind. So it wasn't a pleasant feeling, but it was a real challenging feeling, because it wasn't like just getting in the car and trundling down the pit lane and doing your laps like you do in testing, you know. But seeing as where we started this morning, which was nowhere, we came away with a really good day, I think.
The object is to set a speed record for a Formula One car, aiming at 400 kilometres an hour. By comparison, David Coulthard reached 361 at Monza. Bonneville is 30,000 acres of shimmering white salt. That is, until it rains, and then it becomes a 30,000-acre lake.
Well, we were meant to run the car today. It's quite devastating that we can't. If you look at the flats now, and they're almost a lake, there's just no way you could run on this thing. But for us, as devastating as it may be, and there may be other locations we can run the car in the world, but it's got to be here. You know, when you come to Bonneville and you see this sort of environment, bringing that high technology sport to this raw, passionate racing environment, it's got to be here. We've got to come back here and finish the job.
Yeah, when I was first told of the rain and the water on the lake, I'd almost expected something like that. But only now coming out here, it's dawning on me that we're going to have to wait a whole winter probably before we can come out here and carry on. Everybody was really fired up to go. The car was ready, and it just seemed like the next natural thing to do was to just come out here and do it. But this has made it a real challenge.
Your first concern when you come to Bonneville is strictly the weather, because August is the ideal situation. But if it's not the rain, it's the way that she dries up. It could be the wind, it could be anything. But Mother Nature is your first big monster that you fight coming to Bonneville.
The BAR team were here a year ago for a fashion shoot, and the same thing happened. You'd think they would have learnt from that experience.
And just what can happen in a day, it can turn from a hard salt flat to a lake almost. And you're really at the mercy of the environment here. I think Bonneville just sums it up, it just encapsulates this environment. So I think Project Bonneville does it. When you're out here and you see this, you understand.
So the team packed up and moved to the nearby Mojave airfield to at least see what speed they could reach on the long runways.
Well, we've come out here to Mojave, to the airfield, to achieve 400 or more kilometers per hour. It's never been done before. Quickest recorded speed is around 370 kilometers per hour. Your vision goes blurry at 320 already, so it's going to be quite a buzz.
It's dangerous to run a car at those sorts of speeds. There's always a chance of something going wrong. It takes a bit of courage to get in one of these things and drive at 250 miles an hour.
Driving a much-modified 2005 specification V10 3-litre car with no rear wing, just a central fin, the team did meet their target speed. However, Honda might like to check through the record books, because nearly 70 years ago, on the 28th of January 1939, Rudolf Caracciola drove his 5.6-litre Mercedes-Benz Grand Prix car, with streamlining, to 432 kilometers an hour on the Frankfurt-Darmstadt Autobahn. It's still the fastest speed ever recorded on a road. And a 3-litre version of the car reached 399 kilometers an hour. Yet for anyone who's seriously into speed, records are set at Bonneville and nowhere else.
We achieved a speed of over 400 Ks, which for a modern F1 car is unprecedented. It's a first for me as well, it's a first for the team. It's a big boost for the project because now we know that the car is capable of doing it. We just now need to get the car to Bonneville, to where it belongs, and do the proper time mile in both directions.
We were looking in good shape before this morning, now we're looking in great shape. We are the fastest Formula One car that has ever been recorded, but we'll be constantly looking at the conditions at Bonneville, ready to move at a moment's notice to achieve our aim there.
But for the team from Honda, there's unfinished business at Bonneville. So whether you're on the edge, in too deep, or just ending it all with a bang, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.